So, linking this all up, NATO becomes a military organization with the basic article there that if any one of the NATO nations is attacked, it will mean the attack on all of them. And incidentally, in history so far, nobody has attacked a NATO country. So this is a virtual or theoretical definition under which, however, they go and invade lots and lots of other countries, whether it is Iran or Iraq or Libya or Lebanon or Afghanistan and so on. So that is the military pact part of it. India is really not part of military pacts because in the 50s itself, along with Egypt and Yugoslavia, which later on broke up, the West broke it up. Now it's Slovenia, Slovakia, Kosovo are the small principalities. Nehruji took a lead and we became a non-aligned group. And however, we were neither supported then by the Americans and less supported by the Russians because we were in between. The UN became dominated by the US and European countries. The United Nations Security Council, which discusses the military situation, schools, etc., and takes a stand whether sanctions should be there or not, or whether even UN forces should be sent, has vetoes in the US and Europe and China and Russia. India is not even in that. India is not a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council. Nobody from Africa is there. That means whole lot of the world. Africa is also about 1.4 billion people. India is 1.4 billion people. So 2.8 billion people are not even represented there. And of course, the whole of South America. Now, this is what has generated pressure to make some sort of an organization of their own. Now, China, once it achieved a particular level of maturity, economically speaking, took initiative in the beginning of the century to set up Shanghai Cooperative Organization. There are a number of members. India is also a member, but there is some issue of dominance of China versus the others, and India is not very cooperative in that organization, though we held that summit last year. Then BRICS was formed, and it just finishes the 13th summit in Johannesburg. And this was BRICS stands for Brazil, so that's in South America, the largest country there, also lots of resources. R is Russia, lots of resources there. In Eurasia region, you can say, and then India, and then China, and then South Africa. And in the summit, they have decided to take 6 more members, and there were more than 25 applications, more than 60 countries which attended it. And they have come to certain conclusions about having a common currency down the line, have their own development bank called the National Development Bank, because they don't think that the current developmental institutions are very good to the developing countries. And then have mutual cooperation in a number of other areas. India has offered, and solar energy mission. Russia has offered wheat to the poor countries, and even also oil, as it has been giving on reduced price basis to India and China. So now then we have the ASEAN. ASEAN's 43rd meeting starts tomorrow morning, and this is the Southeast Asian countries grouping. This is also not really a military grouping, and it has a love and hate relationship because China is close by, so they are under the shadow of China, but America tries to become their overlord, etc. So some countries have that influence, but Indian military equipment has started going there. One of the old warships just was sent to Vietnam. Then Philips has bought, not Philips, Philippines has bought BrahMos missiles. Indonesia is also considering it. So on. Now, Indonesia is kind of the leader of this group. There are a number of Muslim countries in Asia. Indonesia is one of them. Malaysia is another. Brunei, full of oil, but now I think oil is declining there. Brunei is very rich earlier. It's a Muslim country. So there are Muslim countries and there are countries in which there is a mixed population also. But close by, there is a group of 6 countries which don't form part of the ASEAN, but they form of a new setting called ASEAN plus 6. And the summit of that will also take place immediately on day after. But I think Mr. Prime Minister will come back tomorrow, since on 7th we have the starting of, rather 8th, 7th is starting of ASEAN tomorrow. Then there is ASEAN +6 meeting. Mrs. Xi is not going to either of them, but Prime Minister of China is coming to India. One of the reasons for this is that China put up a quote unquote, they said, old standard map, in which Arunachal is included and Exai-Chin is included, which we debate, though it is under the possession of China. Pakistan gave away our territory off the POC to China, that's Exai-Chin. And of course, it is very important because Karakoram highway passes through it, RCEP project passes through it, BRI project passes through it, and recently we have seen that in Gilgit, Baltistan, which is the area of the POC, there have been major disturbances, and there is a kind of movement that they want Kargil border to be opened so that they can come back to what they call the Kushtani place, their ancestral place. Okay, so now the next point is that we have 6 Eurasian countries, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, and so on, Mongolia. And that group was earlier under the influence of Russia. It went down. Now, Chinese influence has grown there. Also, they have lots of resources, natural resources. And these are very, very old cities, very, very cultureful cities. And to India, the invasions, besides Afghanistan, used to come from this area of Uzbekistan primarily. Samarkand is the capital. So Indian money used to go there at that time. So these are very well established things. Now, therefore, what is it that when we come to G20? What is G20? We have seen what the G19 countries are there. And remember, EU is a member, full-fledged member. Now, EU is itself 40-odd countries. So once again, though in the guise of involving other countries, the USA and Europe end up dominating it because the G7, all the countries are there, the richest countries. And then you have 40-odd countries. This creates a little tension because now India is being seen as a kind of leader of Global South. Because India raises the voice in their favor in international forums. US and Europe don't do it. Europe continues to have colonial relationships. We just explained the other day that in Sahel region, where 4 coups has taken place, there are 13 nations. All of them were under Franco-Afrique yoke. And in the Niger, where the coup took place, they take out uranium and oil to uranium and gold. And Gabon, which has taken place last week, coup, French used to take out all the oil from there through the company Total. Now, so this is a group which is still under quasi-colonialism. And Mr. Modi, the Prime Minister of India, is making major effort that AU, that is African Union, of all these nations, becomes a member of the G20. Now, question can be asked, the 40-odd African countries and all that, why do you want to make them member? What do they have? They have small GDP, etc., etc. But is humanity for that purpose? They are human beings, 1.4 billion people, who have been exploited very badly. First, all the young people taken out as slaves, and then have all their precious materials and rare metals for song. For example, Zimbabwe is the leading lithium producer in the world. A lot of people don't know. Also, a number of names have changed, and we talk about in the context of, to call India or Bharat, where the countries have changed names. We don't even recall them because the study of African countries. So BRICS we have now 5 countries and 6 additional 11 countries, 20-odd applications there. It is also substantial in terms of the population, 40%, and GDP is 1/3 of the world. Okay, and now if we take the Europe, it is also about 1/3. Then US is there, 16-odd%. China is there, India is there, and Russia is there. Supposing we take them out. So this again now therefore tells that how multipolarity is going to increase. Among the BRIC countries, their mutual currency trade will keep on increasing. It is increasing. RBI has created the processes and so on and so forth. So now, what is going to be the agenda of G20? Tomorrow we will see for sure, or day after we will see for sure, up to 10th, what comes out of it. But the agenda is basically cooperation. But last year's BRICS, last year's G20, this year's G20, and next it goes to Brazil. Agenda will continue to be hijacked by the Ukraine conflict. Now, it's very interesting summarizing this. There is a certain claim of Russia from ages about, this area being part of it, part of their old country. And then during Tsarist Russia and later on also. And only in 91 or so, Mr. Khrushchev gave it away to the Ukrainians and a lot of areas of Russia. He was Ukrainian himself, the head of the Communist Party at that time. In any case, Russia has its own point of view. And then they came to claim Crimea, and they have their ports in Black Sea. And to take the grain out, they had said the grain initiative is there and we'll help it out. Turkey is part of that, and UN is part of that agreement, which they later on stopped, because Russia claimed that their part of the work about their ships being able to take the grains out and swift restrictions being removed, at least from grain shipments, was not fulfilled by West. Mr. Erdogan, the president of Turkey, went to Russia 2 days ago, and there also it has remained open, because Russia said that our conditions should also be met and we will be very happy to start this trade. So the agenda of the last year's G20 got hijacked, and therefore a statement could not be given as the statement of the summit, conclusion of the summit, that because Russia and China opposed a statement against Russia to be placed there. They had the virtual lecture by Zelensky. So now this time what has therefore happened is that Mr. Putin is not coming. And Mr. Lavrov, his foreign minister, will be there representing him. China has also said that they will not support anything against Russia in that. If it is so, how will they adopt a resolution which is common? Now, what are the other parts of the agenda? Climate action is there. India's idea about the solar mission, one sun, one world, and now India has sent a rocket to Sun also. I think one of the very few countries which have done it. And so India's image has kind of improved. So that will be the second thing. Third will be other kinds of economic cooperation. But it is very clear that G7, being very, very particular about their own interests, would not give away anything to the global South. And they are repeatedly saying in every forum, they said it in BRICS also, that unless you reform your developmental institutions, what is the use of having them? Because, we end up getting, all these debt traps and all that with them. They counter that China will give you money, but, they'll put in the debt traps. So G20 is being organized with great fanfare in India. 60 cities also, all those committee meetings were there. So India has got exposed that, it's not just Delhi or Bombay or Bangalore or Hyderabad, but there are lots and lots of other cities with all the other activities and also. So positive image is likely. Now, so therefore, let's look at it, what comes out of the ASEAN summit. As I briefly mentioned earlier, free trade agreement was signed with ASEAN in 2010, but it has not taken off. Free trade agreement with Australia, with Canada, with UK, European Union are all pending. Maybe they're seeing this, what happens in this particular conference. So one possibility is that because of Ukraine, and these countries saying they will oppose anything against them in the summit statement, that the summit may break down. Break down in the sense that there will be what is called chairman's noting. And I think Mr. Modi is also giving a message. He is attending the ASEAN meeting tomorrow, and then only come back for this, so that one-to-one meeting may be limited. Mr. Biden may come, but his wife has got COVID, and he has tested negative. So if it doesn't come, then it will be complete failure, relatively speaking. But these things do happen. Like even in marriage, somebody comes, somebody doesn't come. But a lot of people had intention. India has prepared for it. A new venue is there where the ITPO used to have an exhibition ground and all that. Huge area. And so near the old fort. And it has been all redone. Roundabouts have statues and fountains and flower pots all over. Yes, some disturbance will be there in traffic and all that. But India's name will get established. Unfortunately, a controversy has arisen, which I will handle separately, because maybe it is worth understanding the background of all these things. The controversy is that the president's invitation for dinner to these people says President of Bharat. And so the opposition parties are saying, why are you saying Bharat? The BJP is saying, why should we not say Bharat? But there is only one line which is important. In our constitution, it says India and Bharat. India as Bharat is a state, is a union of Indian states. So if it's there in the constitution, and lots of our public enterprises were named after Bharat, Bharat Heavy Electricals, Bharat Earthmovable Limited, Bharat Petroleum, etc., etc. Nobody objected to that time. Why should one object also? But in any case, from what people say, etc., we will look at it. Do other countries change their names? When do they change names? Why do they change names? And are we changing the name? Isn't Bharat an old historical name? So we will discuss that separately. So we have summarized what's happening: Eurasian area, ASEAN area, East Asia area, China alag, India alag, USA alag, but European Union and part of the NATO as far as military area is concerned. And the local free trade agreements like the LAFTA, ASEAN, Eurasia also is going for a free trade agreement. So India should not get left out of this, because otherwise they will put duties on our products and they will not be able to enter those markets. Now India has to figure it out whether it wants exports or not. Yes, some new studies do say that just export-led economies are unstable economies, so one should not. And India is not an export-led economy. Yes, we have one area of ITS which does a lot of exports, but the others are not so much dependent on just exports. Only China is quite dependent on exports. And the new countries which are coming up in the Asia, Vietnam, Thailand, Philippines, which are becoming the China +1 countries. So our relationships has to be now broader. That means we have to have a geopolitical understanding of what the events are. With this, I will close this one session. We will add the session on what really transpires in the G20 and the ASEAN summit, and have a separate session again on the free trade areas, and we take it from there. Thank you very much.